We've heard from a number of the other publishers. DC has laid out their plan. Smaller groups like Boom have laid out their plans. Diamond came out, talked about comics resuming on the 20th. We've been waiting on word for Marvel, and a lot of us had made some assumptions on what that May 20th, after Diamond made their announcement, what that Marvel catalog of titles was going to be. So imagine our surprise today. We learned of a revised schedule that really changes things up. So some breaking news around what Marvel's doing and certainly some commentary. Hey everybody, this is Perch. I want to just reveal this video is going to have two parts. So part number one, I'm going to try and be as factual as possible about the news that has come out, explain it to you what's happened. And the second part's going to be some commentary. I'm going to warn you out in advance. The second part's going to contain some language you usually don't hear from me. But I want to give you my true feelings on it. So Marvel Comics sent a letter to retailers explaining kind of their plans, which basically was a surprise to people. Again, a lot of assumptions had been made when Diamond made their announcement about May 20th that the Marvel Comics that had been solicited or had been ready to go on the floor at Diamond, so to speak, would be part of that list. But Marvel surprised everyone with an unusual schedule. Basically, they are going to start on the 27th, so a week later, and they are going to release comics 1 week, then trade paperbacks the next, then comics, then trade paperbacks. And they're going to continue this through July 8th. So basically about 2 months, a little bit less than 2 months of comics back and forth. That's unwelcome news to a lot of retailers who had been looking at the Marvel slate as being kind of some power hitters that were going to get them kind of back up and going. In fact, just earlier today, I did some comments for our Thinking Criticals channel looking at some of the titles that were coming out and what would be there. But when we look at the titles that are actually going to start to be shipping, we see Amazing Spider-Man 43, Avengers, Marauders, Star Wars Dacta Afro 1, and Venom 25 as our May 27th slate. And then we skip a week. We go 2 weeks later, we get Black Cat number 11, Daredevil 20, Deadpool number 5, Excalibur 10, Miles Morales, Spider-Man 17, and New Mutants number 10. And then we skip a couple more weeks. We get 2020 Rescue number 2, we get Empire Zero Avengers, Immortal Hulk. We get Iron Man 2020 number 4. This would be June 24th that we're at. And then we slowly trickle in Thor number 5. Thor number 5 was one of the books that we were assuming was coming out May 20th. And so as it goes, a couple things. No X-Men titles. Empire is gone. Outlawed is gone. And no X-Men titles. We get X-Force, we get a couple of the other books trickled throughout the 8 weeks, but Fantastic Four not there. So clearly some massive reshuffling has taken place. Now Marvel's reasoning for this is that they're wanting to slowly move into things and get things going, but that is basically what they're saying here is that there are many titles we will not see for at least 2 more months, which means the gap between some of what was being teed up with, say, X-Men back in March is now going to be delivered at some point, maybe late July, more likely August. So, 4 to 5 months of a gap. Definitely that's going to hurt some storylines. Definitely this is unwelcome news to retailers. And as I said, they did go into some of their reasoning, but they've also paused production on books. I mean, things like Black Widow and Taskmaster make sense given that the movies have been delayed. But the key part of kind of their announcements and other things is they're still being very closed about what titles are on work hiatus, what are never coming out, or what are getting canceled completely. We do not know. There's definitely a lot of things that are here, and to some extent, we'll talk about this a little bit more later. This seems like it's an approach that really is designed for California, New York. They're kind of some big areas where those retailers are not able to be fully open. And so they're not wanting the other states that are fully open to be able to, get comics ahead of them. So they're trying to kind of, turn on the trickle a little bit for those smaller shops, but not for the others. But that was the news today. So a few things to make of this. A couple other bullet points here. Marvel are not announcing anything with UCS or Lunar. They're sticking to Diamond. They're basically in their letter to retailers, which a lot of us got, including people who are not active at the moment, say that they're looking forward to the industry ramping up operations, retailers slowly returning to business over the next few months, and they're taking a perspective of walking very slow, trickling comics in through the late summer, and really they're kind of trying to identify here that by the end of July they'll be more or less back in business. It opens up, again, a lot of questions. They have comic books done, created. They did furlough a large number of their staff. Maybe they're uncertain about when those people are going to come back to work, and maybe they need some of those people to kind of operationally help out with a lot of this, and that's part of the reason why they're doing this slow move. But it's if you're a retailer right now, you're concerned, you're confused about the strategy, and given a very slim schedule, it definitely hands the baton to DC and the indies to cover basically for the industry. On one hand, this could be a big advantage for DC and the indies that they are able to run more or less unopposed with the big publisher that was stuffing the shelves. But it also it sets up a very bad precedent for retailers who now have to survive without their biggest anchor. For new comics, that's a bad place to be. And the fact that not only are they coming out slow, but they're coming out slow with some of their weaker titles. They do not have a clear plan around the events that they had teed up. When Iron Man 2020 is now going to stretch into the fall. Empire is a fall event, maybe, or maybe it's just going to be delayed kind of indefinitely. So it looks like Outlawed is stopped. It really feels more like a full halt. And by comparison, DC is ramping production. They're going out on all cylinders with digital and everything else, and that's great for them. But for comics as a whole, you can't just kind of say, you know what, we're going to take a nap here, because that's how this feels. And given that comic books, in terms of being able to produce them, in theory, is something that could adapt to stay-at-home work environments. I mean, that's how most of it's produced anyway. You really kind of are left scratching your head about why they're taking this approach. It's a dangerous approach for them, for Marvel, and for the comic shops and everyone else. So I mean, okay, so that's kind of the facts as I know it. I want to get into a little bit of the personal opinion here, which may hopefully not go on to full rant, but here we go. We've been, a lot of us, people who are retailers, people who are in business, people who are creators, we've been concerned and pissed for the last 6 weeks or so that Marvel has been so MIA in giving any kind of information out. Whether, they did some discounting, but then went silent. People went to sleep at the wheel. And we know that the leaders are out there doing things because they're advertising for their local restaurants. They're doing drawing YouTube channels. They're doing interviews with Dan Didio of all people. They're doing things, but the public statement has been silent. Even coming out and saying, we are still planning what to do. We're trying to come up, but we have not forgotten you. Not even that has been said. And so to now, after everyone else has gone first, I mean, fucking Boom is putting out statements about how to help comic shops and get books out onto the shelves, and several days later you wait and then kind of announce that you're trickling comics out a week after Diamond. I mean, Diamond is getting their act together before you. What the hell? As a comic book fan, as a retailer, as a creator, this is bullshit. And, Marvel, you cannot do this. You do have a responsibility to the rest of the industry. You are burning bridges behind you. And yes, please, nobody come in with we got to stay safe. Of course we've got to stay safe. Of course we don't want people to have the virus. Of course. But if Boom can figure out how to commission comics and get them done and do it virtually and get things out and keep people safe, at least turn the dial a little bit on digital, on mail order, on anything. While a lot of comic retailers will complain, and the usual nonsense garbage people who like to go on and resist any kind of change whatsoever because they are happy to run their little boutique store right into the ground right now, and maybe they don't even care because they're holed up in their apartment in San Francisco. You know who I'm talking about. You cannot cause the rest of the industry to come to a halt. That's not okay. You're killing a lot of people's ability to manage their own business and get comics out. This go-to-sleep mentality is absolutely unacceptable at this moment. I mean, good Lord, we spent the last 3 years bitching and complaining about crowdfunding or this feud or that feud or somebody saying a naughty word on Twitter or this flame war or this block or all that other stuff. It pales in comparison to this industry screwing moment that we find ourselves in. So I just don't know what to say. I'm glad the comics are getting out. Absolutely, people should be kept safe. Absolutely, we need to take this virus very seriously, protect ourselves against it. But this complete, utter lack of leadership from the leader in the comic industry. We all like to talk about, well, you know, Marvel's this or that, and, you know, DC's a big company too, all the rest. It's time to cut through the chase. Marvel is the leader in the comic industry right now. The sales show it, the unit ship show it, their presence in the marketplace in comic shops with their characters and their IP, the box office receipts for what they do. Marvel is the dominant player. The actions they take impact everyone. So why is it that a bunch of indies, a bunch of companies with less than 20 people can get their act together, can do things, can give money? Why is freaking Donny Cates having to buy comics for people in shops? I mean, again, all this petty stuff we've been dealing with the last 3 years seems really tiny right now when creators, with retailers, with publishers are banding together in their own crazy ways and trying to get things done. And the dominant leader of this industry has taken a nap. I don't get it. And I'm tired of it. I mean, it's just, we're all tired of it. This is not an okay announcement. And this letter, this explaining to your strategy, the strategy is no strategy. We're always thinking about what next. We're thinking about how we can survive without you. That's what's next. That's how everybody is. It does not make any sense whatsoever. And when you are the dominant person, when you are the leader, you have the responsibility to be a leader, to try and help, to put your money and invest it into this business that rewards you for years. Just what I think anyway. Let me know your comments below. Like, subscribe. Thanks for listening. I'm glad you're out there. At least you guys are out there. I've heard more ideas in my comments than the industry leader. Not okay.